Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today we're going to be breaking down some film on the one, the only, the King Henry, the Mr. Derrick Henry. Let's just get straight into the video. So as you can see, the very first formation that we see him in is an I formation. This is a very traditional formation. This is one of the formations that was started, that's been present since the game of football has been in existence. It's pretty much just power football at its finest. You got the I formation, you got Lamar Jackson, you got the fullback, and then you got Derrick Henry dotting the I. And like I said, man, the whole objective is to just be physical up front and get a push into the end zone. Obviously, having a guy like Derrick Henry, having an offensive line combination with a guy like Derrick Henry and a guy like the fullback that's blocking, that's leading the way. Having that type of combination is very vital in the red area because it's much more easier to run the ball into the end zone than it is to throw the ball into the end zone when you get down there. And you know me, I always put stress and emphasis on the red area. When you get in the red area, you want to come up with points, and every play in the red area is a guy that have a situation. And when you have a guy like Derrick Henry, it makes it just so much more easier. So you see the fullback, pretty much takes on the lead block with Bowden. Bowden kind of was the first defender that could have wreaked havoc or that could have possibly stopped that play. So the fullback did a good job at kind of meeting him right there and they're allowing for Derrick Henry to just put his shoulder down, keep the ball high and tight. Obviously, the defenders are going to be stripping at it because more times than not, more defenders are going to want to try to strip the ball than to try to tackle Derrick Henry, especially coming downhill when he already has momentum. So he does a good job of just keeping the ball high and tight and just powering through the defense for a touchdown. So right here on this first down play, surprisingly, the Las Vegas Raiders actually have a light box. Light box meaning the length from where the left tackle is all the way around to where the right tackle is, and then going up to the D linemen and the linebackers. So they had a light box. Obviously, when you play a team like Baltimore, you figure that you're probably going to stack the box because you want to try to slow down the running from Derrick Henry. You want to try to slow down the running from Lamar Jackson on design quarterback runs as well. So I'm surprised that they didn't just maybe check out of a pass and kind of just hand it off in a draw, or even maybe probably just do a read option because the box was so light. I feel like they probably could have had some vulnerabilities and been able to attack them there. But at the end of the day, it still worked. Now, granted, this would have been the perfect coverage for this play. Now, when you have a guy like Derrick Henry, I always talk about what can you do on your own? And right here is a prime example of Derrick Henry being able to do something on his own. So technically, this would have been the perfect defense because they would have forced Lamar Jackson to throw the ball to his check down route, which would have been Derrick Henry. If the guy comes down here, Riley makes the tackle right here, then that's a minimal gain. But he comes down and try to tackle Derrick Henry, who's big, physical, has great balance, great vision with the ball in his hands. And obviously, getting him on the ground is easier said than done. So he misses the tackle right there, and Derrick Henry is able to run after the catch for a first down. So right here, you got Baltimore lined up in a pistol formation with Derrick Henry right directly behind Lamar Jackson, and they just run an outside zone play. You see the offensive lineman kind of trying to block horizontally to seal off the edge like they did right here. And Derrick Henry just does a good job at, once again, what are you able to do by yourself? Now, up front, offensive line wise, they did get pushed, but you had guys that were able to seep through, like right there. I think that's number 5. Number 5 was right there, that would have been able to get to him had he maybe took a better angle. And then you had another defender that had a shot at him. But like I said, once again, at this point, Derrick Henry coming downhill, like you had a guy right there that had a shot at him. Now, granted, I think, and I ain't going to necessarily just speculate, but when Derrick Henry's coming downhill, there's not a lot of defenders that want to tackle him, especially defensive backs. When you're talking about corners and sometimes even safeties, they're not wanting to hit Derrick Henry, who's 6'3", 240-some pounds, coming downhill with a full head of steam. So he just pretty much runs through those arm tackles. And then you see the physicality, get the first down. Look at how he stiff arms number 49. That's a linebacker, by the way. And then even though he's going out of bounds, he still just drops his shoulder to get some more contact before he run out of bounds. So right here, you got another pistol formation, and they just pretty much run an outside zone again. It's just a pitch play to Derrick Henry. So I'm going to show you now. This video, I get it. We're going to be breaking down film on Derrick Henry, but we also are going to be analyzing that offense as a whole, because in order for a running back to dominate like Derrick Henry and like Saquon Barkley does, it's not just an individual effort. Now, you're going to hear me use terms such as what can you do on your own, because to an extent, at some point, making guys miss and being able to stiff arm guys, that is him doing things on his own. But being able to get those pushes up front to get to those next levels, a lot of time that as an offensive thing, as a unit, and not just one individual person. So just look at this play right here. You see that they pulled 3 offensive linemen, right? They pulled 3 offensive linemen to get them out in front of Derrick Henry to try to get a push and create some running lanes. Notice that you see Aguilar, number 15, who's right there. He's going to back block right there on that linebacker that was coming down. So most receivers that you see do not like the block. I'm going to be honest with you, because that's a physical aspect of the game. Most receivers want to just go out there and run routes. They do not want to block. So you see that that's something that you see with Philadelphia and as well with Baltimore, is that not only do you have the offensive line that blocks, but then you also have the receivers that blocks. Like, to me, Baltimore is like the poster boy for physical football, the old style way, you know what I mean? Just pretty much smash mouth football. And also doing that, when you can dominate the run game, it makes defenses have to be balanced. They can't just say we're going to play you for the pass, because it's a pass heavy league. They have to be balanced. And then when we start having to commit more guys to stop the running, that's when the explosive plays on the outside start to open up. So we done seen Derrick Henry lined up in 3 different formations so far. The very first formation we seen him lined up in was the I formation. The very next one we seen him lined up in was the pistol formation. And now we got him lined up in the Wildcat formation. Now, granted, they did shift into this. I just ain't included into it. They did shift into the Wildcat. But what makes this play so dangerous, right? We do remember that with Tennessee, we seen several times where Derrick Henry was able to run and fake a run and throw a jump pass to a tight end. So that's what makes this play so hard to defend, because let's say if you decide you want to try to keep guys back to prevent that, now you're going to be light up front, and going up against offensive line like this and a guy like this is going to be very hard to stop that, not stacking them up. And if you do stack them up to say, man, we need to stop him from running the ball, now he hits you with that. So like I say, man, Baltimore, especially in the red area, and then you have to deal with Lamar Jackson running the ball in himself. They are a very, very, very difficult team to deal with in the red area. So right here, you got them lined up in the shotgun. And I know some of y'all probably was like, well, I thought that was the pistol. Now, the difference between the pistol and the shotgun. So both of them, the quarterback is in the backfield opposed to being under center. But with the shotgun, he's deeper into the backfield, and the running back is on the left side of him or the right side of him. In the pistol, he's not as deep, and the running back is lined up directly behind him. So right here, they're lined up. They do a handoff in the shotgun. And man, this is just prime. This is just a clear example of who Derrick Henry is and what he brings to a team. Like, you start off at a 1st and 10, right? Hand the ball off to him. You skip 2nd and 3rd down and go straight to 1st down. So Baltimore probably wasn't necessarily one of the best teams on 3rd down, and that's only because they probably rarely was on 3rd down because of plays like this. He just hands the ball off, and this is a simple concept, man, just a simple handoff, and Derrick Henry just drags the defensive end forward, for the 1st down. Look at where he got a hold to him at. Look at that. And he just presses forward, presses forward. And once he finally get him down to the ground, he's pretty much rolling him over for the 1st down. Like, this is physical football at its finest. This is for the people who say that the game isn't physical as it was played back then because of it being a pass heavy league. All you have to do is go watch teams like this team and teams like Philadelphia, and even teams like the Bills, teams that run the ball. They'll show you that they're still physical football. So right here, you have them lined up in the shotgun. They send the receiver in motion. So basically what they did was they turned it into pretty much a triple option. So let me explain it to you. So depending on what the read is for Lamar Jackson, that signifies exactly what they're going to do in terms of the option aspect. But he has the option to either A, hand it off to Derrick Henry. B, he can either keep it and run with it, or C, he could have pitched it off to the receiver that they sent in motion. But obviously, when you got a guy like Derrick Henry, the main thing you want to do is give the ball to him. And they do that right there. They supposed to have him tackle right there. That was, who was that? Let me see. That was, look like number 23 maybe. No, number 13. That was the I think Overson. Yeah. So he realized what was going on and he read it. He got there, but he just wasn't able to make the tackle on Derrick Henry. So right there, Derrick Henry's supposed to have been down right there. So he's able to take a gain that was supposed to maybe been a 2 and 3 yard gain and turn it into a 1st down. And at the end of it, he tells Michael Parsons, "Go ahead and get on for a ride, buddy." And he drags him forward for the 1st down. Here we got another 1st down to 1st down play. That's exactly what I was talking about early on in the video when I said that they probably skip 3rd down a lot because they go from 1st down to 1st down, or 1st down to 2nd and short, and then to a 1st down. So we got another explosive play right here. Now, one of the things that I do want to see a little bit more of is just his versatility of being able to contribute to the pass. Now, obviously, we're not going to see Derrick Henry lining up on outside the numbers as a wide receiver, lining up in the slot as a wide receiver. But I would like to just see him have, be able to contribute into the passing game, whether it's him just coming out the backfield or on slant routes. Like you've seen the play early on where it was a check down route. He got the ball and was able to get a first down off of it. And now you see he was able to catch a screen right here and get a first down once again. So like I said, man, it's just explosive play after explosive play after explosive play and just running through 2 arm tackles. Like, look at how many people that he went through to gain the yards he gained. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Watch this. You got the catch right there. You got number 97 that's pursuing. You got Trayvon that fights off his block. That's 2 blocks. That's 3 people missed. That's 2. Then you carry. It takes about 3 people. So it took a combination of just 5 guys to just be able to, to be able to get him down. He run through those 2. He avoids that one. And now it takes those 3. So those were 5 guys that had a shot at him. 2 originally he was able to make miss, and the last 3 he was able to make the first person miss, but by then the defense closed in on him and they were able to just gang tackle him. But man, that's the Derrick Henry effect. And just imagine having to deal with that over the course of 4 quarters. At some point, teams are going to get tired. Teams are going to get mentally fatigued just as well as physically. And I don't think that they're going to be there every play to be able to try to keep constantly tackling Derrick Henry. So right here, you have a gotta have a situation. You got a 3rd and 1, and it pretty much just looks like they was kind of running an inside zone, based off of looking at the offensive lineman. I seen a few double team blocks up in there. So yeah, it looks like they were running like an inside zone. Derrick Henry just did a good job at reading it. But once again, man, Derrick Henry is almost the equivalent to what I was saying, and I ain't gonna say almost. He is the equivalent. So if you watch my videos and you're familiar with my videos, I always talk about you got those receivers that can make water out, turn on water into wine. You got those receivers that can take a simple 1-step route, a simple 3-step slant, 5-step slant, a simple hitch, a simple out route. They can take that 50-some yards down the field for a touchdown. And Derrick Henry's the same thing when it comes to running the ball. Every time he touches the ball, man, he's liable to be able to take that thing to the house just because of his vision and his physicality. Like I say, man, just look at this. Like look at how many people that miss him. Look at it. You got Trayvon coming down. That's 1 arm tackle that misses. He just throws number 21 on the ground like a kid. Like, those are 2 tackles that are missed that could have been vital into minimizing the yards gained on this play. And he just does a good job at just exploding the lack of fundamentals in terms of them tackling. And like I say, man, I think a lot of it just comes down to pure intimidation. Seeing him coming downhill, you start making business decisions in terms of, okay, I'm gonna just make it seem like I was going in for a tackle. This is probably going to be my longest film breakdown, man, because it's just a lot to compact to break down in watching these videos, man. Just look at the blocking up front. So once again, it looks like they ran an inside zone. You see some double team, and you see them just trying to climb and get to the next level. So to be able to create more rushing lanes for Derrick Henry. And like I say, man, it's a team effort. The blocking has to be there, but then just the vision of Derrick Henry, man, just to be able to just make those right reads, those right cuts, and just being elusive enough to be able to evade tackles. Also, one of the things I think, too, that we kind of overlook, and I know I do a lot of times, we look at the size of Derrick Henry and how big and physical he is. And I think a lot of times we don't really take into consideration just how fast he actually is as well. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these times, like even on this play right here, you just see him being able to separate from the defenders. And like I said, man, even look at Aguilar with the block outside on Trayvon Diggs, man. In order to really dominate in the run game, it takes an effort. It takes a whole team effort, from blocking up front to blocking on the back end, and to just overall vision for the running back. So like I said, I know this is a Derrick Henry film session that we're looking at, but then we also want to give credit to the guys that kind of go unnoticed a lot of times, and that's the guys that's blocking and even making it possible for Derrick Henry to put up the numbers and to do the things that we see him do on a week-to-week basis. Ironic enough, what did I just talk about in the previous clip? I talked about an underrated aspect that we all overlook, including myself, is his speed, his ability to be able to separate away from defenses. So look at it right here. You got that play showing that to be true. They lined up in a pistol. They just pretty much simply, it looks like they ran another inside zone. And he's been doing a lot of his damage so far. Like, obviously early on we seen him kind of doing things on the outside. They ran a couple of outside zone plays. The last few has just been inside zone. And like I say, man, it's just, good blocking. And once he sees that hole, that opportunity, that daylight, he just shoots forward and never second guesses, and it just flows. So like I said, man, just look at this, being able to look, this is at what, maybe the 15-yard line, and just looking at how he was able to outrun, to just separate and pull away from them, to pull away from this defense. And these are skill players. These are corners and these are safeties. It ain't like he's outrunning defensive linemen. These are corners and these are safeties that this guy is able to outrun. Like I say, man, matching up against Baltimore is a defensive coordinator's nightmare because there's so many different point of attacks. You can't overcommit to one thing because they can hurt you in other aspects of it. And that's why I say Derrick Henry signing to them was one of the best things that could have happened, because it made an already dangerous offense even more dangerous. All right, we got another red area possession. Like I always say, man, I always put emphasis on the red area. When you get down here, every single player's got to have it. You want to score, especially if you'd have made it all the way to this point. You want to be able to cap it off with some points. But you remember what I stated early on in this video is that I would love to see Derrick Henry utilized a little bit more in the passing game, kind of like we've seen with the little check down situation with the screen and with this. And what that does, in my opinion, is it keeps the defense guessing. You don't want the defense to be able to kind of, for the most part, identify is exactly what it is you want to do. You want to be able to keep them on edge to the point to where if they overcommit to one thing, you can kind of hurt them with the other. So I love to see the versatility and seeing him utilized in so many different ways. And then you got to think about it, even getting up here in the red area. When you're watching film, he's able to score in 3 different ways, whether that be him running the ball in himself, whether that be him catching the ball and running it in, or whether that be him getting back in a wildcat, my bad, think about the playoffs, being able to get back in a wildcat and show as if he's going to run up the middle on those goal line situations and just do a jump pass to the tight end. It keeps the defense honest, because you can't, like I said, you can't overcommit to one thing. You got to kind of analyze the whole situation. And when you get a defense guessing, or when you can keep them guessing, I don't give a darn how good they are, they're not as good as they would be if they knew exactly what it is that you're doing. So right here, you got a 2nd and 7. You got number 42, the fullback, leading the way on the block right here. He just does a good job at being able to go get that linebacker. And once again, man, like I say, man, the more I'm watching Derrick Henry, the more of a complete game that I realize that this guy has. I used to always just think that he was just a simple, just power back. That was it. No vision, no athleticism, no nothing. But the more I look at him, I realize obviously that he does have speed to separate away from the defense. And 2, he does have vision as well. I mean, just kind of look at how he reads his blocks on a lot of these plays. Like even right here, you see the fullback leading the way. The fullback go get the linebacker. Boom. What he does, he bounces back behind the fullback to try to stop DeMar Hamlin from having the angle to be able to come at him. And then after that, he just kind of runs downhill. You had the safety back there who kind of had a good angle at him to be able to slow him down. But man, it is a lot to like about Derrick Henry's game. So right here, you have Baltimore there in the I formation again. You got Lamar Jackson under center. You got the fullback, and then you got Derrick Henry dotting the I. So this looks like an outside zone. They just ran an outside pitch play. And what the outside zone is, are the offensive linemen. So we're gonna take a look at the offensive linemen. So look at how they're blocking, moving laterally, right? Look at the offensive linemen, look at the tight ends, and look at the wide receivers. They're blocking, moving laterally to try to create those zones, to those running lanes towards the outside for Derrick Henry to be able to exploit. That's why I say like this video is probably going to be a little bit longer, because I'm diving into it, man, because it's a lot. When you look at a team that has a dominant run game, look at all of these explosive runs that Baltimore was able to rip off. And this is just Derrick Henry. This ain't even taking in consideration that what you had to deal with Lamar Jackson. This was just only Derrick Henry. So you know that it has to be phenomenal blocking on all parts. I mean, in order for this to work the way that it does work. I mean, even look at the fullback. That's one of the benefits of the I formation, is because it creates an extra gap for you. So, typically you got the A gap, you got the B gap, and then, having the fullback, it allows you to be able to create that extra gap on the outside. So you see how he leads the way on that blocking play right there and is able to get to the guy. Now, you also have to understand when it comes to a blocking perspective too, is the fullback or whoever else, they're going to be looking to say, okay, who's the more immediate guy that can cause disruption to this play right here? And obviously that was Trey Hendrickson. You look at the fullback, be able to get the block on that. And after that, man, it was just Derrick Henry just making the right reads. And once again, utilizing his speed just to be able to separate from the defense. So right here, you got the Baltimore Ravens. They lined up in the I formation again. So they run an outside zone play. You see the offensive line pulling or blocking laterally to try to create those running lanes. And then you see that they bounced the fullback out. So the fullback was supposed to be going to go get was supposed to be a lead blocker on this play. Derrick Henry just pretty much outruns him. But I'm gonna show you something too. Watch Nelson Aguilar, the receiver number 15. Watch how he back blocks the end, or I think that might have been either the end or the linebacker. And I think that's exactly who the fullback was supposed to be going to go get, because you look at him, he kind of hesitates. You got look at Aguilar gets him right there. Well, actually, I think he's supposed to be getting, I think that's number 4, I believe. But it was just good blocking, period, man. Like I say, man, to watching this team dominate, is they winning the line of scrimmage, man. The battle in the trenches, they're just dominating teams. And it's not just, and I'm not going to even necessarily say just the trenches, because the trenches just pretty much says that that's just up front. They're dominating up front, and then they're getting to the second level as well, because you can only do so much. If you're just dominating up front, but you got the second level defenders, whether that be the linebackers and things like that, that can be able to minimize those gains, then you're doing pretty good as a defense. But if you're dominating up front, and then you're dominating at the second level, and then if you can get to the third level where the safeties are at the last line of defense and dominate, man, it's going to be really hard to stop you from running the ball. And when you look at what the Baltimore Ravens are doing for the most part, man, it's just simple concepts. I mean, simple zone concepts, whether it be inside zone, outside zone. Just guys are sticking to the assignments, making the blocks. But then, like I say, bringing Derrick Henry in, you bring in the Derrick Henry effect, which is over the course of 4 quarters, at some point, a team is going to start to wear down and not really want to tackle him anymore. So you bring that into consideration, and then you also bring in the vision that he has, and then you bring in the physicality and the contact balance that he has. So that makes Baltimore a very difficult team to have to match up with. So right here, you got another outside zone play. So the goal of to be able to stop the run, or to give you a better chance at stopping the run, is to be able to outnumber the offense in the box. So meaning that if they got 7 guys that can block for the offense, we want to have 8 defenders, or we want to have 9 defenders. Now the dangerous part of that is because the more guys you commit to the box, then the less guys you have in possible pass coverage on the back end of it. So that's why teams wouldn't overstack the box. I know some people might be like, well, if that's the case, why don't we just overstack the box? You can't necessarily do that, especially in the NFL, and especially when you're dealing with a team like Baltimore that has fast receivers on the outside, because that'll put you in compromising coverages on the back end of it. So right here, they just run pretty much another outside zone. The offensive line pulls, and you see they're blocking horizontally. This gives you a good look at it. And just look at number 42, the fullback. Once again, he takes away the immediate threat. And once he takes away the immediate threat, the only person that really had a shot at really kind of getting to him was the safety. And the safety came downhill, kind of took a bad angle, and Derrick Henry just kind of made a back cut and just had him on skates from right here. You see him right there. He took a bad angle. Derrick Henry just kind of made a back cut. But then I also think, too, we're going to call this a Derrick Henry effect. So if you guys are familiar with basketball, they said when Derrick Rose was in his prime, they said that a lot of guys used to catch the flu before they played Derrick Rose because they didn't want to have to deal with him. So there was a special sickness that all of a sudden a person had one day, and then the next day they was back okay. So that's the same thing with Derrick Henry in a lot of the ways. When you look at a lot of these defenders, I just feel like a lot of guys coming downhill just do not want to tackle Derrick Henry, especially at this point once he's already going. If you stand a chance at taking Derrick Henry down successfully, especially individually, I would say that it has to be before he gets going. Once he gets going, man, it's hard for anybody to be able to take him down. I know a lot of people might say the Cooper DeJean tackle, and even Cooper DeJean admitted that, well, he wasn't going forward when I tackled him. He was just standing still, pretty much, waiting on the pass, and I was just able to close the distance fast on him. But tackling Derrick Henry by far is a team effort. That's not an effort that you can just task one person with. It takes a team effort. It takes everybody fighting off their blocks, and it takes everybody rallying to the ball to be able to get this dude on the ground. So right here, we got another red area possession. Like I always say, man, when you get down to the red area, you want to be able to put points up. And being a team like Baltimore, being that you have Derrick Henry, and you have Lamar Jackson, and you have a pretty strong offensive line, when you get in the red area, more times than not, you're going to end up with points on the board, just because there's so many different aspects of that offense that you have to deal with from a defensive perspective. So it creates a lot of opportunities offensively on things that you can do. So you can't really overcommit to one thing. So right here, this was just a blown coverage. You like that the Tampa Bay was in man. You're probably going to see man a lot of times, more times than not, in the red area, just because things become so much more compressed. So when you're working from the length of the field, like let's just say if you're working from the 20, from the 30, from the 40, or whatever the case may be, you have to deal with the threat of vertical speed. So if you got guys like Tyreek Hill, guys that can really hurt you over the top, you have to worry about that. But when you get to the red area, you don't necessarily have to worry about that, because the field becomes more compressed. So more times than not, more teams are going to run man in the red area. So right here, it just looks like the linebackers were utilizing a thing called banjo technique, which means that if Derrick Henry releases left, the linebacker took the wheel linebacker would have took him, and if he releases right, then the Mike linebacker would have took him. So it just was confusion on there, because it looked like the wheel linebacker was working from the other side of the formation to pick him up up. But when he seen the tight end, Isaiah Likely, coming, he decided, he had to break back across, and the Mike linebacker just never got out there. And then once again, once you give the ball to Derrick Henry in space, man, a lot of people are going to make business decisions and probably not going to want to tackle him like right here, and they just get an easy walk in for a touchdown. So right here, we got another red area possession. You see Denver actually has the box pretty stacked. I mean, you got a 9-man front. You pretty much kind of can indicate exactly what Baltimore is going to be doing for the most part. It's either going to be a handoff to Derrick Henry, or it's going to be an option route, option play for Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson, or it might just be a design quarterback run for Lamar Jackson. So they were pretty much anticipating run. They just didn't know exactly how they were going to get it, just because you have a lot of those options as well. But like I say, man, it just, when you watch the Baltimore, like watching this film just shows you how dominant Baltimore was at the line of scrimmage. I mean, they just were just pushing teams over, man. I'm talking about just getting pushed from the front level to the mid level and to the third level. They was getting domination on all levels. And then, like I said, man, as time goes on, you have guys that start to make business decisions. Let's just say in the beginning of the game, you have teams that's probably coming downhill and willing to tackle. But as the game goes on, Derrick Henry becomes much, much harder to have to tackle. And you have guys that kind of start making business decisions, saying, man, you know what, I'm just going to act like I got blocked, or I'm just going to act like I took a bad angle. Long story short, I'm just not ready for the contact, and I think that kind of starts to wear and tear on the defense. But right here, you have Baltimore lined up in another I formation. They use the fullback to be able to catch the edge, to catch the number 5 coming off from the outside. You seen that it looked like the right guard, it looked like he pulled as well. So you had the fullback who took number 5, and then you had the right guard who pulled and kind of just got in the way. And then you just got Derrick Henry being Derrick Henry, man, just being able to run through some arm tackles right there, and then being able to run through that one right there. So this dude has phenomenal, like I say, Derrick Henry has so many different aspects of his game that I feel like we all overlook, and even myself. That's why I've really been enjoying this film, just studying film on him. I mean, because you always look at the power, you look at the stiff arm. Like I said, one of the things you kind of underlook a lot of the times is his speed, just because most of his plays you see are physical, is him just being physical, at the point of attack, where they're just stiff arming guys and just throwing guys out of bounds. We don't really highlight that he actually has speed to be able to outrun defenses, to be able to separate from defenses. You don't look at the fact that he actually has pretty good ball on phenomenal. I ain't gonna say pretty good, but phenomenal vision. Like, even though the offensive line is doing their job and the wide receivers and everybody doing their job in blocking, if he didn't have the vision to know what holes to be able to hit, then those plays wouldn't be popping as often as they do. And these plays, those explosive plays pop, play after play for Baltimore. Like I said, Baltimore is a very hard team to deal with, man, to match up with. There's just so many different weapons. And then, like I say, you got Derrick Henry, who himself is a game plan, not factoring in Lamar Jackson or anything else. Just him alone is a game plan. He got phenomenal contact balance, just being able to stay on his feet, being able to run through those arm tackles like those right there. And like I said, when you get in the red area, man, in short yardage situations, man, it's pretty much automatic with the Ravens. And like I say, man, if you look at a lot of the plays that they were making, a lot of them were on first down and second down. And that's not saying that they're not a good third down team. I just feel like they don't find themselves on third down as much as other teams do, just because they have so much success on first down and second down. And I know for sure that they have to be one of the better teams in the red area, based off of what I've seen this season, because every time we've seen them in the red area, man, it's been automatic. And like I say, it's just been first down and second down plays. But man, I'm gonna make a part 2 to this video, because I didn't want to make this one super long, because like I told y'all, I planned on diving deep into this, because I've been trying to figure out, okay, what is it about Baltimore, or what is it about Derrick Henry that's just been giving teams so much fits, that's been, he's been looking pretty much unstoppable at times. And I wanted to figure out what it was, and I seen that it was him as well, but it was a team effort to be able to dominate the way that they dominate. So I wanted to dive into details. So that's why I said this video is probably going to be one of my longer videos, but I am going to do a part 2 to that too. So stay tuned if you did enjoy this one. But if you did enjoy this video, man, do me a big favor, man, smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure that you got that notification bell turned on. That way you'll be notified every time I upload, and that way you'll be notified when that part 2 drop. And I'll see y'all in the next video.